Okay. So good afternoon. I am very glad to welcome Hans van het Hout. This afternoon it's very nice sunny weather. I don't know if is it the same there in the Netherlands?
Well, you can see it here. Actually, this is my view from my house. So this is I'm working at home today. So it is it's a bit semi-cloudy, and at this horizon there's the North Sea. So we are right now 15 kilometers away from the sea, so to say, in the city of Leiden. Beautiful city.
Great, very nice city. Okay, how are you doing today? How do you feel today?
Yeah, feeling great. I'm really busy actually. A lot of things planned till the end of November. We are completing a very big project which we are doing together with the European Space Agency to really develop my platform, our crowdsourcing platform, to make it really professional, so to say.
Great. Well, I will tell a bit how I met you. So everybody knows. So I met Hans in October in Rotterdam during a startup exhibition related to Earth observation. So there were quite some people presenting inventions, all sorts of services. Most of them were showcasing the typical stuff. So data-driven solution, consulting services, and so on. But Hans was a bit different, so quite different, I would say. He was showing something completely different. That is was a game. So he was with a big touch screen on a table, and he was showing how you could play a game. So I said, "Gee, that's great." But then, how it really relates to Earth observation? So this question will be answered by Hans himself later on. Now, I would like to ask you, Hans, if you could tell something about yourself, so to make this interview a bit more closer to the human aspect. So, what are your hobbies? What is your passion, and related to what you are doing today as an entrepreneur?
All right. Well, I'm Hans van het Woud, the director of the company Blackshore. However, about me personally, what I have done in the past, about my education, actually I have no background in engineering or whatsoever. I have started with education at the Academy of Arts here in the city of Rotterdam. I did the bachelor education, communication and multimedia design. That's already like 12 years ago. But this was an education to start embracing this internet age, and also to start developing applications by looking at users instead of technicians. Like the iPhone wasn't invented yet, but it was already idea, well, maybe the internet will become interesting at some kind of moment. And we were asked to look at a target group, at consumers like you and me, to develop a smart application around it. It's like a website, so like a movie database website, or we made an application for IKEA to combine furniture. But what was really important here was the design aspect, because you needed to design the interface in a human-friendly way, so you can easily understand it. So I did this bachelor. It was the best education I ever have done in my life. We had courses like in marketing, but also like how learning about colors. How do people look at colors? What does the color red? What does it do to people? Like you have on the back of your wall, for example. Now after this bachelor, I started working for a couple of years, but then I decided, well, yeah, I'm not really that happy in my job. So I went to do a master. So I decided I go back to college, to the university. And then I went into the University of Amsterdam. And there I have started doing the master Human-Centered Multimedia. And Human-Centered Multimedia is a computer science master. Other tracks are like artificial intelligence. that human-centered multimedia is really looking at what is the position of us as people in this digital age, this information age. And how can all the information we have benefit humankind? How can we do good stuff? And courses in here, for example, psychology, human-robot interaction, how do we perceive robots as humans? E-learning is very important, what I'm doing right now also in my company. And also, actually, from this master, my company was born as it is today. And talking about hobbies, I'm a father of 2 young children, 2 and 4 years old, 2 sons. It's really fun to be with them, to teach them a lot of things about the world, of course. Also, as a hobby, I like to do wave surfing in the ocean, in the North Sea out here. But I have to say, while children are growing up and the company is growing, it is difficult to find the time for it. Exactly. But there's my passion. And, of course, hiking in the mountains. So we're going next week for a few weeks, taking out the family. This time not to the mountains, but to the, what is it? The Ardennes, near Luxembourg, actually.
Visiting Belgium.
Near Belgium, actually, but then across the border in Germany, and to go out to relax for 2 weeks, take the children out.
Great.
And but I will also bring my laptop to keep working. Otherwise,
of course,
it goes on.
What I wanted to say is that what I like from Hans, I wanted to share this with the rest, is that after many exchanges with you, I think. What I like is the focus that you have on solving problems that are related with that purpose. So I can also read in big bold letters in your website, solving world problems using the power of the crowd, satellites, and a bit of gaming. So Hans, can you tell us about how did you start your company in the field of solving world problems? How did you manage to get there?
So that is really a very long journey, because the very start was actually the first version of my game, as for my master thesis at the University of Amsterdam, I was asked to face a challenge, to do something with my research field. And actually what I found out were satellite images of NASA. However, those NASA images were not of Earth, but they were of planet Mars. And NASA had the problem with planet Mars. With this data, there's so much amount of data available that there are not enough people to analyze all of this data. There's only a handful of researchers who can look at those enormous images. I will show some images later during my presentation. So NASA said, aren't there smart people who can help us to analyze this data? So what I did, I started writing my thesis. And what I was doing, I heard about the term crowdsourcing. And this is how a big group of people are helping to analyze data, to turn actually data into knowledge. And so I started building a first game. I inserted a satellite image of Mars, and I asked people play the game. And in the game, I asked people to look at this Mars image, for example, to look for traces of rivers, or for sediments, for geological stuff. It was a fact, if a lot of people say about the location, there's a trace of a river, then it is true. This information we can use to turn it into a map of planet Mars, actually. So eventually I had children of 11 mapping Mars, helping NASA researchers. So regarding to this, I built a first version of the game. I wrote my thesis, I got a publication out of it. And then, of course, I want to continue working in this field. So I had written, with this paper, actually, and I thought, space is quite cool. I like Mars, it is fascinating. There are a lot of things to explore. So how am I going to convert this into a job? How can I keep working on Mars? I'm really lucky here in Leiden. I'm really closely situated to the European Space Agency. So it is ESTEC, is the European Space Agency research center, a very big center. So I had my paper. I got to the European Space Agency. I said, well, yeah, I've done this for Mars. So can I somehow work here and continue this Mars research? But then Isa said to me, well, Hans, no, yeah, you can't work here. But actually, what you have done with Mars, it is quite cool. How you are using actually the public to look at those Mars satellite images and to get data out of it, citizen science. And then they said, well, what if you use this technology to do something for planet Earth? And until that moment, I never considered doing something for planet Earth, but I started reading a bit into it. And also, of course, around Earth, we also have satellites orbiting and many more satellites. And well, before I knew it, I entered the Business Incubation Center of the European Space Agency. They gave me a bag of money and to start building my company based on the research I had done for Mars, that was basically space technology, and to start working on challenges here on Earth. So use the same methods as Mars to map pieces of Earth. And then, of course, I need to start thinking about, okay, what are possible challenges my company, what I could solve using this technology. And the first version was actually to map disasters. Because on Earth, of course, we have natural disasters like earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes. So I started converting this Mars game into a disaster game using, well, okay, it was a mapping disaster game. The game wasn't a disaster. It was really quite useful. But what I did, and the very first version was about mapping to tsunami damage near Japan, near Fukushima, because the tsunami rolled over Japan, as we all know it. And when the tsunami happened, satellites flew over, and we had images where we can zoom into 50 centimeters. And then we can see, for example, damaged houses, or actually washed away houses, ships on the land, damaged infrastructure. And there, in the first version, I asked the crowd, okay, can you map the damage? Do you see where bridges are smashed away? Or where's the infrastructure still operational? And if a lot of people played this game, we could generate a damage assessment map of this area. And with a map like this, help services can better plan their strategy to fight those disasters. And so there, the first version of my game for Earth was born. Also with this idea, I gave the game the name Cerberus. Cerberus is this mythical dog with 3 heads. Actually, I think, well, dog, 1 body and 3 heads, and the dog is very good at sniffing around. So 3 brains together to 1 body. So this is why I invented the name. Years later, I found out it was the guard dog to hell, actually, but I now have the brand. Anyway, so this very first version was actually really successful. And even more, I also presented this idea to the Copernicus Masters. Because, of course, this hackathon is about Copernicus doing smart things with satellites, which he all did. Which we are all trying to do. And I entered the challenge, the very high resolution challenge in 2012. I entered the challenge with the idea to really optimum make use of very high resolution satellite imagery. And that is resolutions where we can zoom into 50 centimeters. No, and so I submitted. I did a presentation over the internet, and I got the email that I was a winner. So that was really great. I won the very high resolution challenge prize. So I was invited to Munich at the time in 2012, and the title of the game was Cerberus, Map a Disaster, because we are using the brains of the many to help map disasters. This is really important. So in Munich, I was at the award ceremony. It was really, of course, great. But what was really nice is that there were like 7 prizes doing something with Copernicus. I was the very high resolution challenge winner. But there was also the overall prize, so the best one of the 7. And I also was the winner of that one, actually. So I went home with 2 prizes, so to say. So the very high resolution prize and the overall winner prize. Very high resolution was given to me by European Space Imaging. They're reselling very high resolution data. And the overall prize has been made possible by the European Commission. And this gave me a very big usage quotum on the satellites, which I'm still using. Anyway, but this was really the start of my company, winning this prize and winning this Copernicus prize, because yeah, it placed my ID on the map, actually globally. And then you get asked for a lot of talks and things like this, and this was really important for the success of my company, where I am today.
Great, thank you very much for this introduction. Now, before going to dig deeper in your life or whatever else, I think I will invite you to present, to give your presentation, and after that we will open the floor for interactive Q&As. Okay?
All right.
So the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, so I already mentioned some things, but I will just open my presentation, and then you can see it on the screen. And feel free to interrupt me when needed. So I'm going to see if I can change my screen.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good to mention that, because we only have 3 people on this chat that are attending. So everybody can interrupt hands whenever you want. So please just jump in and.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I will change my screen to here, and then I have to do this one, I guess. All right. Can you see me, and can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Well, as I first started, what you can see here is a satellite image. In this image, you can zoom into 25 centimeters. And here's also a satellite image. And here's what we can also zoom into 25 centimeters. It are both quite colorful environments. With these images, as I told before, is how my company started, because these satellites have been captured by this satellite. It's called the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. It is a NASA satellite still flying around Mars. And here, with this satellite, we can make photos of Mars where we can really zoom into 25 centimeters, so we can see a little piece of A4 lying on planet Mars. And of course, with this data comes the challenge that it is sending huge amounts of data back to the Earth. So, and how are we going to analyze this data? Now, around this satellite, I built a computer game. And in this game, I asked the players to explore planet Mars. And I asked people, well, do you think you can see like sediments and dunes and rivers, as I told you before? Well, with this game, I wrote my paper also, what I told, and I called it the Mars Crowdsourcing Experiment, because we were using the crowd to map planet Mars and to see if is it possible. What I found out, what are the ingredients, what is needed to enable children or young people to be able to help the scientists to map planet Mars. And 2 things are really important. One thing I needed to, of course, I was building a game around it, but what are the ingredients for the game? What must be in it? The first thing what is very important is a e-learning component, because before people can really help mapping Mars, I needed to teach something about Mars to the players. I need to teach, well, what do sediments look like? That is vertically ordered ground as seen from space. What do traces of rivers look like? So that was really important, that element was in the game. Secondly, what is really important are motivational aspects. So people play a game, but people nowadays have a very short attention span. They're pretty fast bored by doing something. So you must give them a lot of achievements and targets to play the game. So by mapping something, you get a little gift, or you get a reward or a promotion or whatever. So that is also very important. And if you combine those results, the output is really amazing. What we generate, the maps we generated on Mars, the crowd was really actually outperforming experts, because the crowd is much faster in mapping. If you have an army of people playing the game, those are many brains, and they just outperform one single scientist brain in speed, but also in thoroughness. So they cover more ground. What is also important, they are just as precise, because we combine all of the crowd results together, and about these results, because the crowd sometimes make errors, of course, but we filter out those errors statistically. And very simple said, like if 10 people say, okay, that is a river, then it is true. But if only 2 people say it is a river, then we throw it away. And so it is, we rely on statistical probability. Well, with this Mars research experiment, I ended up at, as I told, at the doorsteps of the European Space Agency. They are situated here in the Netherlands. The European ESTEC. There are 2,500 people working here in the dunes of the Netherlands, and they are all researchers testing satellites before it is launched. And there's also the business incubator of ESA. Well, actually, of course, ESA has many incubators around Europe, but one is here in the Netherlands. And there I ended up, and they helped me to start up my my company. And of course, to start working, not with the Mars satellites, but like satellites like this. This is a satellite, it's called like the Worldview 3 satellite. It is the size of an English bus, actually. So it's quite a big piece of equipment. It is flying around at 500 kilometers altitude and continuously making photos of planet Earth. And with these satellites, you can already zoom into 30 centimeters on Earth, generating data. And of course, the more data there is, the more there need to be analyzed. So the more work there is for me. So I started continuing my company, and I started, of course, working at challenges. What are we going to map? So here you see a typical satellite image coming from such a satellite, and this is actually a part of the tsunami damage in Japan. And at the right side, the entire blackened area is actually an area where the tidal wave rolled in. And if you look at the bottom right, you see all those, like, this is actually a place where used to be houses. You only can see the foundations left of the houses, and they have been completely smashed away. And this is very important that we, when a disaster happens, that we, as fast as we can, create a map of those situations to save lives, so to say. Well, of course, satellites are all around us, and there's an entire network of satellites working with Copernicus, Earth observation. We have commercial satellites allowing us to zoom in to 50 centimeters, but of course also the satellites delivering open and free data, like the Sentinel satellites, which we are also using. And I will tell a little bit about that later. Let me talk a little bit about a few projects we have done. a very interesting one is this area. This is actually Mount Sinjar in Iraq. Quite some years ago, in 2014, ISIS was on the rise, the terrorist organization. And around Sinjar, this is a mountain 60 kilometers long, I think 15 kilometers wide. And around this mountain there are villages with Yazidi people. And the villages were attacked by ISIS, and it caused the villagers to be chased up on the mountain. I saw it in the news and I thought, yeah, I must do something for those people. Those are just helpless people being attacked, being chased out of their homes. Can I do something? Can I find them? Can we find locations to drop supplies? So on my own interest, I ordered in satellite data of this attack, and I started asked the crowd, okay, can you start help mapping? Can you help mapping where the refugees are? So we started, and well, what we found out, this is the game interface at the time. And the game at this time was still in Adobe Flash. And we asked people to compare data over time. Like here was like a 12 hours interval. And we asked people to look for the refugees. And you can actually see them from space. So we have in the game, you have to say something about what do you see in a hexagon, which is making it really user-friendly. And if I think in a certain hexagon, I see refugees or something else or suspicious activity, I click on it, and this information goes in a database. And this way, we found actually within 12 hours the first refugees. And actually, we know in this area, you can see it more clearly because what is really interesting that this area is really similar like planet Mars. And we know a lot of the terrain like this. If you look in this image, you see at the little purple hexagons and the green hexagons, and there you see vehicles. And also under the green hexagons you see vehicles, and under the purple hexagons you see little black dots. And these are actually vehicles who did not decide to take a road, but they decided, well, we are going to follow up a dried up river and go as far as he can up on the mountain and yeah, waited there for help. And we know these vehicles have been stranded here, and the little black dots are people sitting there in the shade waiting for help. So we found them using the crowd output. But we also found other things which are really serious. That is this area, because this is a satellite image also taken 12 hours apart. Or, oh no, I think well, this one was, no, sorry, this one was 7 days apart actually. And we have a black and white image and a color image. So the left one was like August 1, 2014, and the right one was August 8, 2014. But what you can see at the left side, also a lot of little black dots, but also something which is really looking very wet. Like if you go to the beach and you throw a bucket with water on the beach, you see like the sand is getting wet. And here we are seeing exactly the same thing, but then at a bigger scale. And all the black dots around it. And a week later, everything was gone. And actually what we think what has happened here, this is actually a location where has been a mass execution. So at this location, people had been shot actually, because black dots can either be sheep or people. Well, and we know what ISIS have done. Well, at this moment, actually, this region was just too dangerous to visit or to drop supplies at all, and the United Nations had no presence. So unfortunately, this data never has been used. But if you go right here, right now to this location, and you start digging in the ground, I'm really sure you can prove here that genocide happened here. You can take sand samples and measure how much iron is in the ground, for example, traces of blood, to prove this. And now we also have like a proxy to start searching for mass graves. And this is what you can see with the satellites. And this is data you don't get to see in Google Earth, but you have access to this data. So this is one of the most serious projects I have ever done, actually. But here's how I also start to know this is so important, this work we're doing. There's so much data to be analyzed. The Earth is so complex right now. And yeah, we need many eyes to show this, to look at the truth, so to say. So it really encouraged me, of course, to start building on the game platform. Well, right now we are actually much farther, years ahead. I've done quite some minor projects, but now we are really growing as a company, also with the help of the European Space Agency. And we're about to complete a project together with ESA. They call it Internet Integrated Applications. And they helped me to fund 50% of maturing my project, to keep it developing, to make Cerberus really professional as it is. And it was really a great help. And with this, we carried are carrying out 7 crowdsourcing projects around the world. But firstly, of course, when you start your entrepreneurship, when I started, you get into many interesting adventures, or you get invited for interesting things, or you win some stuff. So as I said, at the top right, you see me getting awarded the GMES Master Award, which is right now Copernicus Masters. Placed my company on the map, literally, so to say. So well, you get asked to participate in podcasts, to talk about things, or like now, of course, this webinar. I'm really happy to participate in it, just to share a little bit of my story. Well, yeah, you get on television sometimes, because this was an interview about Mars. And what was really nice last year, I ended up in a trade delegation with the Dutch, a Dutch trade delegation to Canada. And before I knew it, I was having lunch with Prime Minister Trudeau and Prime Minister Rutte of the Netherlands. And also, because I'm planning to expand my company to Canada, to set up an office over there. Also to cover the east coast of the United States, or the west coast of the United States. Anyway, so that was what is happening as an entrepreneur, and there are many other stories. I also was asked to play astronaut, fake astronaut in the desert of Utah, simulating a Mars base. So all sorts of stuff. But of course, the main target is to make the Cerberus game, to make it a more professional platform, and to grow and to scale up, because we need a much bigger crowd. We need to see, okay, what types of problems can we solve on Earth? And what I already knew about the platform, it is really versatile. Because yeah, if we can map Mars, we can also map everything on Earth. We have satellites everywhere, and the satellites do not stop at boundaries. And also, like, the problems we face on Earth, they are really diverse. Like, we have illegal forest cuts, we have disasters, we have problems with food security, the oceans, of course, and all those problems. Often are different stakeholders working on it, different end users. Like the WWF is working on wildlife protection, while other organizations are helping on fighting disasters. So we started building a platform which is really versatile, and to be able to to respond to the demand of potential customers, to customers who need information. And the way we generate this information, of course, crowd generated. Well, what you see here is a new image of the game as it is right now, because the game really evolved again. The game is right now in 3D. We work with elevation data, so we simulate Earth as it is in a game engine, and we ask the crowd to do projects all around the world, and you get to those. And we ask through the game interface, we ask you to go to separate regions throughout the world to do something, to participate in projects. And we mainly work in areas which are in developing countries, because we know, like the Netherlands or Europe, it is already really well mapped. But especially Africa or Southern America or like pieces of Asia, there's a lot of mapping to be done, and we bring this in the living room. So, well, some of the projects we're so anyway, what does the company look like right now? Of course, so we have the company. It's called Blackshore, and we are supported by the European Space Agency, but also by Amazon. And Amazon is hosting a lot of Copernicus data, and we have a grant from them, so they are helping us with the data infrastructure. As a company, also we have suppliers, like we're working with Airbus, Defense and Space, with Digital Globe, an American company, and they have the best, very high resolution data satellites, which are flying around the world. And on the other hand, we have our stakeholders, we have customers for our data, for our mapping products, in which we, of course, use the crowd to generate those maps. And those are all stakeholders who want to make the planet Earth, a better place in their own ways. And that is really important about my company. I only want to participate in projects making the planet Earth more sustainable, to sustain nature, to keep people safe, for example. So that is a very important aspect. Let's see, I will skip this one for a second. So this is what the game interface looks like right now. Well, as you can see, it is almost like a Google Earth-like interface, but then gamified, and you can already play the game yourself, by the way, so you can test it yourself. And again, we ask you to say something about a hexagon. It's a bit like the game Settlers of Catan, if you know it, or a bit like the game Civilization, if you like computer games. It is also working with hexagons. And if you have to say about the hexagon, okay, I see a river, or I see a house, or a road, or whatever. And then you click on the hexagon, you get the score for it. You say, okay, I think I see a river in the hexagon. And the higher the score is, the more other players have said the same thing. With this score, you earn some virtual credits. And those credits you can spend in a virtual shop to upgrade your units or get a new skin or whatever. And that's a very important part of the game interface. So just checking, are you still here?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right.
Everybody's there.
Okay, cool. Okay, now I will now shortly talk about the projects we are doing together with ESA right now. I'm not going to elaborate all 7 of them because it is quite a lot. But some ones are really interesting and are really focusing on today's problems on Earth, actually. So the first project we have done, is in Mali. And here we have done a project. We mapped 100 square kilometers. We were measuring the positive economical impact of water pumps. There's a Dutch NGO, non-governmental organization, and they have donated water pumps to a certain area in Mali. And they would like to see, well, does it make sense? We give the water pumps to those people. Does the region thrive? So we were asked to map, are there more farms? Are there more roads? How's the vegetation doing? Is this area thriving? So we asked the crowd to start creating a map of this region. And as you can see on the right, we always show examples on what to look for in the satellite images. That is really important part of the e-learning element. So the people started to play the game. Here, for example, is where a player has been mapping houses. You see those purple hexagons. And the thicker the border of the hexagon, the more people say there's a house. Now, what comes out from it, if you combine all of the data of all the players, is a map. And here at the left end, you see the map of the region generated by the crowd. And well, you see, of course, blue is a river, green is vegetation, white are the roads, and like this ugly liver color, those are the buildings in this area. So you think, well, nice, a generated map. But then you think, well, why is it important? Why is it interesting, this map? Well, this is really interesting because until now, nothing has been known as this region. If you go to Google Earth or in Bing Map or in OpenStreetMap, and if you go to this region, you actually see what you see here on the right. This is actually our map being projected on top of Google Maps. So this entire big blank area, it is what is known until now about this region. But if you look at the left end of this map, you see the region is really diverse. There's an additional river, there are a lot of roads, there's a lot of stuff going on into this region. This is also really important for us to estimate, for example, where more water pumps are needed. So in this case, yeah, Google knows nothing, and we know everything actually in this case. And by seeing this image, I was really thinking, oh wow, this is really working. Actually, this system, this is so cool that we generate this. We are discovering new things. So that is a very important result coming out from the game, of course. Well, and anyway, this area we mapped based on commercially available satellite imagery, allowing us to zoom into 50 centimeters. However, we are not only working with commercial satellite imagery. I always sit together with the customer. Okay, what are the needs? What is your information need for a certain region? What kind of map would you like to have? And what must be the size of the map? And this way we can decide, for example, also to work with other type of data, with Sentinel-2 data. The Sentinel-2 is a satellite delivering open data, which we can all use. And this satellite is helping us, for example, to highlight vegetation. So we can only zoom into 10 meters, but it's telling a lot of things about the region. And this project we have done for the Earthworm Foundation, and here we made a distinction map of palm oil between rainforests in Brazil, in the Amazon. So, and what is really important here, that we make use of the multispectral capabilities of the satellite. So if you look in the top image, you'll see this piece of the Amazon in color, in red, green, and blue, how we see it with our own eyes. But the Sentinel-2 also has like the near-infrared channel and the red edge channel. And making use of these channels, we can say something, combining those 5 channels, we can say something about, okay, what type of crops are there, or what is the vegetation quality. And that is really helping us to better understand the region. Because if you look at the bottom right, everything what is red actually is palm oil. Everything what is yellow is maize. Everything what is white is just dirt. It is bare soil. So here we are using those multispectral capabilities to tell us more about the region. So the satellite is not so good at really zooming in very sharp, but it can tell us a lot of things about the bigger region. And here we mapped 10,000 square kilometers, which is actually the size 1/3 of the Netherlands. Here you see a better overview image of the entire region. So again, at the left end, you see what you can only see with red, green, and blue, what we can see. And at the right hand image, you can see what we can see with the satellites, making it really much easier to distinguish palm oil from rainforests. And that is very important because there's a lot of illegal palm oil growing going on. And the cause of deforestation are actually the growing of those new palm oil farms. So deforestation is never being done for the wood, but is always for farmland. And this way we can track it and of course eventually stop it. Because slowly the rainforest is being replaced by palm oil plantations. Okay, well, this is another one, very important. We also did this one with the Sentinel-2 satellite. This is again Mali, and here we were also asked to make a community map of Mali and to see how Mali is drying out over time. How is climate change impacting Mali? So we were asked to compare Mali between 2015 and 2018 and to see what is going on with the region. And what we see over time is in this area, because right now we're in 2014 or 2015. And here you can see what this looks like. Hey, that one is not working. Oh, there's a little error in my slide. I will show the difference later. But what we saw in the, let's see if I can see it here. Oh, well, I can't show it right now. But what we saw in this region, that it was in 2018 much browner actually. So there was less workable land. And what we can also see very clearly are the communities, the cities in this region. And what we see for each and every city is that the city is growing slightly. And this way we know there's a migration going on from countryside to the city. And so there's more pressure in the cities of people living there with less food to be grown. And those are indicators for human conflict. And we shared this data with a think tank here in The Hague, working on those big world problems and advising governments. Because we know, and it's going on right now, Mali is really drying out, less food to grow, and more people packed in cities, and this will lead to potential refugee streams in the future. And we can track this using satellites. But then, based on this project, we created a map like this. You can see here what is the scale of the map. So here on the bottom left, you see the entire map as generated by the crowd. And then on the top right, you see it projected on Africa. But what we are going to do next for this year, we are going to revisit this region and we are going to create a crop map of this region. Because what we suspect is that of this drying out, that actually climate change is not the cause. But we know in Mali, there's a big sugarcane industry. And sugarcane is, as a plant, it is like the #2 water consumer in the world. Mali is already vulnerable to drought. But if you plant sugarcane there, and some farmers are really getting very rich because they make fuel out of sugarcane, which we buy here actually as biofuel, but it is sucking the country dry, and we can measure this. And basically what we must do, we must try to stop this sugarcane production, so the water will be left for other types of crops to feed the people who live out there. And it is just a very big issue which we are mapping right now. And so we know, like, what we already have mapped are the symptoms, like the area is drying and there's more pressure in the cities. But we are now going to start to investigate the cause of those symptoms. And this is going to be really interesting. And here we will be also using the Sentinel-2 image again to map this area, but then focus on crop segmentation. Well, then I come into the last project, which we what I will talk about. And this one we launched in August. This is different than the other ones. And here we are actually mapping a wild park in Zambia. If you start up the game right now, you can already play this map. And in Zambia, we are making a map on very high resolution. And here we are looking for animal trails. We are looking for rivers, and we are looking for road tracks. And what we want to do with this map is create a very high resolution map of a wild park to better understand the topology of this wild park and to better predict where poachers can enter the park. Because in this park, there's a lot of hunting going on for the black rhino. But if we can better understand this park, we know where the animals often roam, or where the fooding places are, or where what is accessible by road truck. We can better plan our strategy to protect the animals. And if you look at this satellite image, this is the game interface. And if you look at the left-hand side of the image, you see all those little white lines vertically going over the terrains. And those are animal highways. So we can't see the animals itself from space, but we see their tracks. And to conserve energy, the animals walk the same track each day, so therefore you can see those animal highways. And then with this project or other projects, we will go a little bit further, because Cerberus as a game is free to play, but what we will be adding is the option to build buildings in the game, for which you can spend like €1. And like in this area, we are working together with another organization who's developing sensors to target mobile phone signals. If you have 3 of the sensors in the park, we can triangulate where users with mobile phones enter the park. But we want you as a player to install those sensors virtually in the game, like with €1. And then part of this euro goes to a real sensor in this park. So we will be not only doing crowdsourcing here, but we are also going to crowdfund a sensor network in this park, so we can really track down those poachers. Like in Mali, we can do this with water pumps, or we can do it, for example, with fertilizer. So this way, actually, and that is my grand vision, we are building SimCity in Rio. This will be a very high level of community participation in those real problem areas. And there's so much money, so much revenue going on in the game industry, and it's all going to waste. So many brains being used in the game industry, and it's used for fun of some people, but we want to do it for a purpose, and that is the main aim of the company. There are of course more projects coming up, but one interesting one, we will also do like the supply chain, for example, of coconuts on the Solomon Islands. We will launch it in 3 weeks actually from now. That will be really beautiful. We are also going to look at the coral reef and some more projects coming up. Sugarcane project. Actually, as a crowd right now, we already grew to 20,000 people. What we also want to implement is blockchain technology. And that is like if you in the game build a virtual building, like a water pump, I want you to be able to track where your donation is ending up. So if you spend some money in the game, that you're really sure your money ends up in this particular water pump. It is the classical model of NGOs. You give some money, but you don't really know what's happening with your money. But now, as a player, I give you control of your money. You decide where this water pump will be installed. Of course, for doing all this, I want to grow next year as a company. So I'm now trying to work on a Series A capital, as they mention it. So for really an early growth stage, we have built a lot already, but I want to keep growing, because Right now we have 20,000 people, but I want to grow to 200,000 people play in the game, and then we really can start making big impact on Earth. What is more interesting? Well, yeah, I think that's about it. So, well, thanks for your attention, I guess. And if you have questions, just fire it away.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
I will open the floor for questions. So please, everybody that wants to make a question, just unmute yourself and shut it. So who wants to make a question from the audience? Or you can also use the chat if you prefer.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Jonas,
okay, perfect.
go ahead.
Hello. So I was wondering where we can possibly also look, because I've seen a lot of images, and also in different like in infrared and so on. But
yeah,
where can we which ones are the other data sources on of satellite data, and where can we possibly already consult those like different data sources?
Maybe I will shortly answer this. We are going to put together. I am building all this into Slack, so you will get access to a lot of data there. But maybe Hans can give extra information, because the source I will put is all related to Copernicus. But maybe he can build up on what he actually uses. He uses much more data than only Copernicus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. And this is a very good question. And of course, you have the open Copernicus data, where you can get Sentinel-2 images. There are some APIs for it, and a lot of parties hosting this data. We are trying to get things from Amazon. They call it Earth on Amazon, actually, to get, and they're hosting a lot of open data sets which you can use. But there are also many other data sets, like from Copernicus itself. Also, like as for Sentinel-2 data, you have like the scientific data portal hosted by ESA. However, as for the commercial data, I'm getting it directly from my partners, European Space Agency, Imaging, and Airbus. And those are just contracts I have as a company. And how does it work? Like this data has a price, because of course satellite data is quite expensive. So you have to build this in your business model. Like I have a map which I sell, and I sell my knowledge on top of the price of the satellite data, and it all goes per square kilometer. And but I have to say, yeah, the entire world, of course, of available imagery is quite splintered, and it did cost me years to discover everything what is out there. And even not to mention is like the elevation data, the digital elevation models. For this, you have different missions also delivering open data to create the area in 3D. And like NASA has some data sets, but also JAXA, it's a Japanese NASA. So, and it is just a lot of searching. But unfortunately, there's no portal who has everything.
Okay, so I hope you have answered the question of Yona. Yona, is it enough? Is it fine?
This is great, fine. I'll be awaiting the links to like all the information and on Slack as well, and I'm looking forward to like consulting maybe some documentation or what's available.
Okay. Anybody else wants to go for another question? So in the meantime, I will ask some questions to you. I have in the chat somebody. So Flo, thank you for the question. So, do you think we can use your platform to work on the plastic in the ocean? Of course, microplastic cannot be seen by satellites, but macroplastic patches would you consider it feasible project? We know where the big gyres are, but maybe it can be used to show the public where we are on this.
Do you mean those projects like now, like the big ocean cleanup?
Yeah, I think it's to map out. Okay. Do you think you can use this satellite data to map out the?
Yeah. So of course, yeah, you can track the progress of this because yeah, they know where this thing is floating, and you can track how this ocean pile is this pile is getting smaller. I have to say, for this, I would probably recommend a radar satellite, which are being used for the white ocean. They are being used to track down oil spills. So I believe for looking into the middle of the ocean, of course, if we know exactly the coordinates, we can get the image of it at very high resolution, let people look at it. But maybe for this, I would recommend other solutions. However, what will be interesting for the oceans, and what we are going to do at the Solomon's Islands, and that is really going to be amazing. We are going to map there the supply chain of coconuts, but there's also a lot of coral reef in this region, and there's and we can see this in the ocean, and we can see algae bloom. We know something about the health of the ocean, and we can see it in the game. And we can see it multispectral. Those are the areas which aren't so deep. So when it is up to 3 meters deep, we really can go very far with those optical satellites. But again, for looking into the middle of the ocean, I would recommend using radar data.
Okay, so radar is the way to go. Any other question? Anybody who hit? No. So besides Flo, yeah. So she's asking again. My question. So Abdul, thank you for your question. So Abdul, do you read it? So my question is on your project in Mali. You used computer-based gaming method to generate data. What role did the locals on the area play in it? And how can the locals who are generally computer illiterate benefit from these techniques?
Yeah. So in the big region in Mali, there's no connection with the people on the ground. Even more, all those villages we found, they do not exist as for the World Bank or other organizations or the United Nations. It is really weird to see how poorly Mali is mapped at all. And we were asked to locate the communities in the first place. And but we don't even know the names of those little places. And about this, we are now in the chat with the Bill Gates Foundation, who is really interested in this data. And they really would like to know what are the names of those places, because they don't know who lives there or what kind of people. So the only thing is we located those villages, but there's no communication with them. So that is for the big area in Mali. However, for the water pump project, that was really closer scales, and I'm working there together with an NGO who installed the water pumps for those people. And of course, through them, I do have a connection with the locals. And what we do there is just use our map and share it with the mayors of the region. And there in the mayor office, they have a big printed map which we generated to better understand their own region.
Excellent, thank you. Somebody else. So Abdul is asking another question. How then can we link the data to potential socio-economic development of the area, especially with respect to the SDGs?
Yeah, so that is what we are already doing. And of course, we are working together with organizations active in Mali. And now that we have located those villages, we can start sending teams out there to our partners. So we now know the geo coordinates of the villages, and now we can start sending delegations, and then we can really see, okay, from the ground, okay, what is the pressure in the city and what are the problems. So we are really a piece of the puzzle in this case. And what is of course important, what I thought about, what we are going to do next is map the volume of sugarcane production in there. And if we know this volume, we know how much water is being used, and then we know why the area is drying. And of course, one of the SDGs are really important for making Earth more sustainable, that there's sufficient water for the people to be used. That is one of the prime things. That is going terribly wrong out there because of poor land use. And so we are definitely working on this.
Excellent. Any further question? I'm watching the chat for the group.
Yeah, I'm watching it too.
Yeah. So in the meantime, I will make my question. So how do you announce your challenges to the crowd? How do you work? How do you communicate? And do you do it with social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever?
Yeah, right now our community is in Facebook. If you look for Cerberus Game, you can join it. And actually, our main communication channel is there. And that's because also the game is right now only playable through the PC, through Apple and in Linux. And in this is a really effective channel to announce a new mission to be played. But what will be launched early next year also is a mobile phone version of the game. And this will be in the app stores and whatever. To also attract a different audience. And actually in this version you can build a city. What we will ask you to do, to build your city, you must gather resources, and you gather resources by doing projects all around the world. Like we want you to get sustainable wood from Brazil, or get fair trade coconuts from the Solomons or whatever, and you use this to build up your city. It's a bit like Farmville, but then different.
Excellent. Now somebody else has a question. So Abdul has a question. Do you share your data with or have any collaborations with local academic institutions that can benefit students and potential idea developers like yourself in terms of sustaining the new knowledge?
No, yeah, right now, of course, I have collaboration with my stakeholders. Those are the end users, and that is those are the ones who are paying my my bills. And but we decide with them if we really make the data open or not. Sometimes the data can be really too sensitive for peace in the world, like the data with what we did in Iraq, for example. And under no circumstances I am going to share the location, the real geolocation of the refugees on the internet. And that is always what you have to watch out for, to guard for. But this really differs per project.
Excellent. He's asking, thanks for the feedback. Now, another question I have, how do you manage to get customers?
That's costing me years. This is really, of course, there's a lot of skepticism towards crowdsourcing. And while I have a patent in the United States, my technology is peer reviewed, but still people don't really believe that people are so smart, but they are. And it's just taking a lot of time to convince companies to become open-minded to it. And but of course, over the years, I have had a lot of failure and a lot of people who didn't want my technology. But slowly, I see the world is getting more and more open-minded, and to adapt to these technologies. So it is taking me a lot of stamina, but I'm really getting there.
Okay, I see. What would be your suggestion for a participant of this hackathon? in order to come up with solutions that are a bit different from the standard ones, what could be for them a good inspiration?
Well, of course, I have no background in technology at all. I have no background in engineering. I have no background with geospatial information systems. I have no background with doing politics or whatever. I came from the Academy of Arts originally, and I think what my advantage is I'm quite good at looking conceptually at things. But you must not ask me to program something, to engineer something. Like if I need to write some code, I really need like so many lines which don't fit on my screen, and like my team only needs this to write something about code. What I want to say is, yeah, if you're going to generate a team, really try to get some creative people aboard, I guess. To like the non-technical people, I think that is really important to really be complementary as a team. And in the end, it always must be important, how do you think you are going to earn money? That is always the biggest question. You're like, I'm right now about the mapping disaster thing. It is really noble, and I really think that is the most important application for my game. But I can't earn any money from it. I can't sustain myself as a company. And I thought, well, yeah, this will be my business, but how are you going to earn money with disasters? And I can never predict this help organization is going to somewhere. So it is the wrong market. How good the technology is, the market is not really there. And then you must be, even it is against your heart, you must sometimes change the market where you will operate. I think that is also really important.
Excellent, thank you. And what is your solution? So you have the creativity part, you look at the business, but who is doing the coding?
Yeah, of course. So my company here in the Netherlands is with 4 people, and like in the Netherlands, of course, I'm doing mainly business development. I'm working with someone who's helping me with the big ESA contracts, project management. Someone is helping me with the geospatial information systems. Someone who's helping with the Amazon IT infrastructure. But for the rest, I outsource in Egypt. And there I'm working together with a game company of engineers and designers who are really helping me to make the system, to build the system. And they're doing the most of the coding, and they're really, really efficient about it. So I'm lucky I found them.
Okay, so you have solved your problem.
Yeah, exactly. I was lucky to find the right company, by the way, in this case. But I've been working with them for about 8 years already, I guess.
Okay, so thank you for your answer. Anybody else has a question? Maybe the last one? No? Yeah, somebody else. So Luis, short question. Are you planning to bring your game to platforms like, example, Steam?
Yeah. So right now our platform is independent. So we have our own, own license as a code to be launched in Windows. So if you install the game, it's really automatically updated. You don't need to download it through Steam. And because I think at this moment my game is not yet good enough. We are still building on it. Like the mapping module is really operational, working really well. But we are adding the game elements. But I have to say, at this moment, I think the game would get a pretty bad review on Steam. And if you get a bad review, you're gone on Steam. So it's not really worthwhile. And they also, of course, require some part of your revenue stream. So I might consider sometime launching it on Steam, but only if I really feel I'm ready for it.
Okay, thank you very much for this. So Luis is also thank you. He says thank you to you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I guess this is the end of your presentation, your question and answers, and I would like to thank you once again for this really inspiring presentation.
No, thanks for listening.
More than one, I think many of the attendees are really inspired with all this, including myself. And I wish we keep in contact and we can share, because I think what you are doing is really spot on what this challenge is based on. So thank you, and see you around.
You're welcome. See you. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
See you.
So welcome back to this pre-event webinar number 4. So I wanted to go very quickly. We have like 20 minutes now. We will just go quickly to the tips and tricks for winning this competition. So did you enjoy this webinar? Please send with the chat your answers. Did you enjoy the Blackshore presentation? I'm curious to hear from you. So what are you saying? Yeah, it was perfect. So yeah, very nice presentation, Flo. Okay, Abdul said it was perfect. So good. Guys, I would propose that you all unmute. So please unmute, because we are now going to do a very interactive part. So you can unmute yourself, I think. Unmute. Unmute. Unmute all. Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, go. So that's good, because then everybody can speak, and we are not going to repeat things.
Yeah.
So I have the next slides. We're going to go very quick over here. Everybody knows this. So just to mention that it's good to keep connected, because I'm going to be posting everything on LinkedIn. The next month will be very quick. So anything, you just have to shut it in LinkedIn and I will answer, okay?
Yeah.
So, and now what we're going to do is just very quickly tell you a bit the challenges. So the challenges are not fully, are going to be announced on Monday, but just to give you a small introduction. So the food challenge is related to a case in Belgium. The health challenge has to do with a Brazil problem, and the raw materials challenge is located in Sweden. So you will learn more Monday. So I wanted to ask you, yeah, but this is maybe, if you want, we can play a small game about. Yeah, I was wondering if it would be possible for you to, so that we give the expectations. What do you expect from this webinar? So
I'm not sure what to expect really, but mostly to be prepared about the hackathon, know who is who and what kind of problem we should tackle, so that I can kind of prepare where possible.
Good. Who else has something to share? What is his expectation? Nobody else?
Yeah, I was actually hoping to learn from so many people with previous relevant knowledge as far as the hackathon is concerned, especially with respect to the main objective of the hackathon. And so far, especially today, I have learned a lot from Hans, and I have learned a lot from the previous presenters. And indeed, that was my expectation, to have an idea, because I haven't participated in such a hackathon before, and it has given me a preemptive idea about what to do and what is expected of me.
Thank you, Abdul.
Yep.
Anybody else? I see Marcin, I see Luis, Flo. Can you give some ideas? Because this way I will adapt the next 20 minutes to answer your questions. No?
Hello, here's
Yes.
Marcin.
Yes.
I'd like rest of the people attending to the webinar. I think it was good for us to get some knowledge about what are the services now, like 2 days before on the second seminar, that we had chance to get to know the different services like Onda, for example, where we can find the data and also use it, and the Terrascope. And also today's webinar with the idea of using the Copernicus data for the game, which is also like for the whole community. It gives the input. It's, yeah, I think the webinars were good. Thank you.
Okay, but try to develop what do you expect today, because today we are going to go deep into the details how you can win it. It's not only about data, it's about how you can win it. So what details, what things that are still unclear to you, besides accessing the data? That's something we are going to cover via Slack. We are going to put all the information for you in one point.
What are maybe the expectations as in how finished the product should be? I assume it will be a minimum viable product, but maybe some parts might not be completely finished at the end, or
yeah,
or something like that.
Okay, that's something we're going to cover. So how should the end solution look like? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So anybody else wants to test, or everything is clear for you guys? So Flo, Luis, is it everything fine for you? Are you still there? Hello? So chats, so what, yeah, Flo says, yes, Mike is dead. Ah, yeah, sorry. And Luis, how will the challenges be divided over the groups? Yeah, so the challenge division. Good. Okay, so I'm going to first go through some few things related to about a bit more general, and then we will address these two questions that were raised. Okay, so the format of the hackathon is 2 days, and here you see the beginning of the first day is kind of, yeah, we will waste half of the morning opening, registration, forming teams. So for instance, if you can form teams before using Slack, that you will win a lot of time. That's very important to have the team formed before. But if you have people, if we have people that have no teams and they register last minute, we will just introduce them to the teams that need the certain skills that they have. Okay. Now, we will have a session about generating ideas, then and generating a prototype. That's the morning. Everything clear so far? Yes. So then we will have lunch. Yeah, sorry, one question more. So yes, everybody says yes. So question is, we will have the lunch. After lunch, we will have an intro into prototyping tools and toolshop. And we will have a prototyping plan, so, which means that the afternoon we'll be working on prototypes already. And half of the afternoon we will start hacking. So using the platform similar to Dias, like Terrascope, depending on the challenge that you will have different data sets to access, at least to have some technical solution ready. And this hacking will last from half of the afternoon until day 2 lunch, or even after lunch. So there is quite some time for hacking during the hackathon, but we do recommend that you start looking at the libraries already next week, because there might be something that you didn't expect it. You could be stuck with some technical things, and it's better to clarify that beforehand. Okay. So what about after the hacking? Basically, it will be around 3. We will have the presentations, the pitches, and then we will have the jury delivery, and they will give they will define who are the winners by around 8 p.m. So basically, that gives you an overview. Now we also have we have thought if there are people or teams that have less good technical knowledge, they will have some kind of fast track to do the more business or the most user interface related activities, and they will have much less hacking. Okay, so I see a question. So if you can ask the question, unmute your mic. I see one in the chat. So yes, so somebody's left there. So Hans had to left. That's no problem. Okay. Now, hackathon tips is there is no overnight success. So all people that win hackathons most of the time are people that have been working some time before. So no last minute wins. So for the challenge, also visit the challenge, get inspired by doing your own research and ask questions. Now I will answer the question about how we allocate the challenges. So basically there is no allocation. So you decide which challenge you with your team or with the people that you like to work with, you decide which challenge you want to address. And this is important because most teams, they form around an idea. So when you agree with the idea, you want to share that team. We cannot say, no, you have to work on something else. If everybody wants to work on the same challenge, let's bid. I mean, I know that there would be people working on the 3 of them, so I'm not so concerned. And for the evaluation, and that's very important, there will be 25% concerning the relevance of the solution. Then it will be 50% concerning the interest of the project. So if it is innovative, value for user, technologically feasible. And then the last 25% for team quality. I will go more in detail on the next slide. So the relevance means, are you solving the right problem? So if the challenge was about food, looking at a certain space and time, I mean, you need to consider this minimum requirements, otherwise you are completely off the point, right? Then interest is 50%. So how the product fits the market. And that's important because you need also to address a market that is going to pay for it. And then therefore you need the business model. Like Hans said before, this crisis thing for him was not giving money. So he said, well, that was not the right market. So here is also who is going to be paying for your solution. That's very important to consider. So is it innovative? Does it bring value for the users? Is it technically feasible? How big is the market? Is it a mosquito bite or a shark bite? And how scalable is the solution? Scalable means can you go all over the world with the same solution or not? Most of the satellite applications can. So this is why satellites is a very good model. And concerning the team, this is something that will have 25%. So ideally, you have to team up with people that have different backgrounds, ideally data people, but also people that knows the problem. So people that either know about food in detail or about the health or about the raw material problems. And a business expert, somebody that really knows either sales or marketing or has some idea about user experience. These are the right mixes. So as somebody, I think it was presented yesterday, so and this will be also available, how you form your team. In Slack, you will be able to connect with people, and maybe even if you want, I would suggest that you put your kind of own presentation on YouTube, for instance, and you put a link into Slack so people know you, they know who you are, what you like to do, what are your skills, your strong skills, your soft skills, and why they will like to partner with you. So then online, you can already start assembling your team. And then there is a design book that will be available also online. I would suggest you to look around, but don't go too much into details, because it's very, this is a program for a 6-month incubation, so it's very detailed, and sometimes too much detailed. So keep it light. So I will go back to the questions. So do you have questions about this evaluation? I think this is important to clarify.
Yeah, so for the eventual pitch at the end, I assume that these are the subjects that should be covered in that pitch?
Well, the evaluation, the jury will take into account these 3 big aspects. So the pitch is one aspect, but for instance, the team that is presented, represented during the pitch will also be evaluated.
Yeah, so it would also help to maybe talk a bit about the team, like have one slide about the team during the pitch, or the short minutes.
Not necessarily talk about the team, so or maybe you can mention it, but but I would say if the team is already diverse, people will notice. By Q&As, they will see when you answer. The technical guy will talk more about data. The business guy will be talking more about the business model. You don't really need to talk too much about the diversity.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Luis is asking, then there will be permanent evaluation by the jury? I am assuming permanent, you mean during the day, during the whole 2 days? Yes, so no, you will be only evaluated once in the end. The jury members are not going to stay the whole day over there. Yeah. Any other question concerning the evaluation? No. Okay, so I will go now to how you can get also inspiration. Do you see well this this slide? Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, chat. Yeah, everybody sees this. So, just to give you an idea how you can get inspired. For instance, if you have Earth observation plus data, and then you have gaming and a crowd, what can you develop? What sort of solution do you think you can develop with these 2 elements? That's a question for you guys. So Blackshore, the Cerberus platform, that's an example of mixing ideas from different fields, right? What can we do if we have Earth observation data and artificial intelligence? Any idea? So there is a startup called Sobol that is using artificial intelligence to also map the potential of photovoltaic production in a certain town hall in the Netherlands. But this is also, you can do it all over the world. Any other idea? So Earth observation and social media. What type of application you can do? Snap planets. I suggest you go and take a look. Very interesting. The technology is not the big thing, but the fact that you can share on internet, that you can share on social media, small small videos about a certain location using satellite data. This makes it very, very new. And what can you do mixing Earth observation data and citizen science? Well, you have citizens working on their own projects. And this is the case in many locations, like in Wach, that is near Amsterdam. This is a social, it's a community group that is also using satellite data to solve problems related to their own location. I see a question. Somebody's asking here. Yeah, Luis is asking. Luis, can you maybe unmute and explain a bit better? City Health? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so you were wondering whether this is about City Health. No, these people are concerned about different type of issues. Can be city health, it can be about monitoring, all sorts of things. If you want more inspiration, I also suggest you to go and look at the Copernicus Masters Hall of Fame. There is tons of applications using different type of data and artificial intelligence and whatnot. Another source of inspiration is using patents. So I also suggest you to look at this patent inspiration website. I have been using it myself for consulting quite a lot, and I do. You can get a lot of information. And as Hans already said, he is filing patents using. So his approach is also available via patents. So you will find Hans solutions and also many other solutions using patent inspiration. Okay, so what do you guys think? Now I will answer the second question or the first question from Yona about how finished the product should be. So what do we mean by the minimum viable product for a hackathon? So the answer is I will go back to this part, so how you will be evaluated, and the technology, so the technical feasibility has some importance. So you will have to demonstrate that you have done at least some coding. This is on the technical parts. And then you will have to show this in a way. So either with a presentation or an animation or something. And the rest of the evaluation will be not necessarily technical. It will be, as I said, the team. It will be how relevant it is. Also, the way you value the solution, so the business model, and how easy or how your product is bringing something nice to the customer. So, is it making it easy to use? Is it fast? Is it cheap? Is it intuitive? All these aspects are very important for the product. So I don't know if I have answered all your questions. If you have more questions in the meantime, please take the time now to type it in. No more questions? Okay, so if there are no more questions, I will also close. Yeah, so there are two questions. Okay, Luis, City Health, okay, now where can we find the presentations? Okay, so all presentations have been recorded and are available via the website of the Brussels Copernicus Hackathon. In the same place where you have to register for the webinars, now you will have a button, see the video. Okay, and by Monday you will get an invitation. All people that are registered already will get an invitation for forming teams and starting their community in Slack. Okay. Okay, so I will now close this chapter and wish you all the best. Have a nice weekend, and also keep me posted. Anything, whatever you want to ask, go via LinkedIn. Connect with me and you ask me, and I will be updating everything you want into the Slack via LinkedIn, okay? So have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.